Week 5 was definitely a weird one where I felt simultaneously lucky and unlucky across my lineups in daily fantasy football, where I had some good touchdown variants with Alvin Cook. I had some big plays with Gabe Davis, but also felt like I got a bit lucky with guys like Ramondre Stevenson. Well, I guess I got lucky there and unlucky because he had all the yards but no touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, no touchdowns, but is that lucky when it's Taysom Hill and he could take things away? So I felt both lucky and unlucky. It's kind of the most confusing, profitable slate I've had in my entire life. We're going to break things down, let you know what we learned in week 5, if we learned anything, try to spin things forward, and take a look ahead at the week 6 salaries on the FanDuel main slate. This is the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast powered by numberFire. That's right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and numberFire.com. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire, joined here as always by Brandon Gadula. He is a senior managing editor of numberFire.com. Brandon, week 5 to me at least was very odd. So how are you doing today?
Yeah, it was strange. I felt like I was doing great at times and felt like I was doing terrible at times. And it was really hard to pin down, I guess, even as the slate unfolded. Obviously, you can't play everyone. So there are some guys who you want exposure to and you just didn't quite get there. There are some guys who you got a little bit too heavy on and who maybe don't really touch the ball a lot, like a Devin Singletary, despite your team playing from ahead from the get-go. And
so I've decided that was bad process on my part to use Singletary. We can just do this now because why not? He is a guy who is dependent on passing game work, and they were 14-point favorites, and I used him. I should have seen that coming. And I did to an extent because I faded him in a couple single entry lineups. But I think that's an own goal.
Sort of.
I try to be level-headed and not just be okay, I got this didn't work out in my favor. But I don't want to question the process. I question the process behind being high in Devin Singletary. I think I should have so I had, I don't know what I had from an exposure perspective, but my exposure level to Singletary was higher than it was to Stevenson. And I feel like I should have had those be more even in retrospect.
That I could see. I really warmed up to Stevenson. And again, we got lucky due to the Harris injury for that to work out quite the way that it did. But, he checked all the boxes. I still think for Singletary, you would anticipate a running back who is the team's primary back playing from ahead.
Only. He's a P-bino, primary back in name only.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying it's one thing. Okay. So there's descriptive stats and it's okay, he doesn't get a lot of carries, but in a game where they're favored by so much, again, that is misleading for running backs. It is sort of I don't think a misnomer is the right term, but it is early on a Monday. So don't hold that against me, but you don't really want your running backs to be favored by too much because then the game gets out of hand. I thought a heavier spread would actually benefit Singletary because he would finally get some extra carries because they wouldn't need to throw as much. That was the issue. I mean, the yardage was okay for the salary, and you would think a team that scored as much as it did would have had more bunny touches for a running back in the red zone, but
so the counterpoint would be that when he had the increased snap rate the past 2 weeks, they were in a negative script. They were down against Miami, down against Baltimore. They won that game against Baltimore, but they were down for a lot of that game. Maybe he is someone we use in tight games against Kansas City potentially this upcoming week. Maybe he's better there, but also he's dead to me and I've crossed him off, so I can't use him there. He has been the single tutty / double tutty nickname is dead. He is now Devin single digits because he's not allowed to score more than 10 points. I know he's done it this year. Don't fact check me, bro, but he's Devin single digits until further notice. We'll talk about other people outside of Devin Singletary. We'll talk about Ramondre. We'll talk about Kenneth Walker and more throughout the podcast for today. But first, a reminder to make sure you are subscribed to the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. PGA, I'll be back on that again tomorrow for the first time in a decade. No idea what the field is. No idea where they are. I've got a lot of catching up to do later on today, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'll be doing that. We also have our Week 6 NFL preview podcast Thursday, NBA not too far down the road, UFC, NASCAR, et cetera, all right here in the same place. So go search for the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review as well. FanDuel and GMC are back to bring you the GMC Sierra Mountain Climber Pick'em, a free-to-play contest series that gives you a chance to win a share of $10,000 in FanDuel site credit every Sunday, courtesy of GMC. Here's how it works. Every Sunday during the NFL season, you'll have a chance to answer questions around the day's 1 p.m. and 4:25 p.m. Eastern games. The more questions you answer correctly, the higher up the mountain you'll move. If during any week you answer every question correctly for a perfect score, you'll reach the summit and win your share of $10,000 in FanDuel site credit. The contest series is now live, so go to FanDuel.com/free/contest/GMC to start climbing the mountain. FanDuel.com/free/contest/GMC. Let's dig into the week 5 headlines. Unfortunately, it pertains to injuries at running back. Now, injuries always suck. Every single time, because you don't want to see that happen. I think with these, the reason they are headliners versus being in the injury section of the podcast is because we know who will get a bump up from a usage perspective. Those two injuries are to Rashad Penny and Damian Harris. Damian Harris left in the first half with a hamstring injury, was ruled out for the game. Ramondre Stevenson was the only other active back for the Patriots. Now, that does mean that, hey, going forward, probably not going to play at 90% snap rate as they get more guys active, but he's probably going to be a featured back in this offense. Stevenson, 25 carries, 2 targets, 89% snap rate, 175 yards in scrimmage, and 4 out of 10 red zone chances. Just 2 targets for Stevenson, but he did run a route on 2/3 of the team's dropbacks, so that number could have been higher. So if Harris misses time, Brandon, how high is too high for Ramondre Stevenson?
So he's a feature back in a very questionable offense, at least to us. I think we're always lower on the Patriots offense. So I need to keep that in mind. Also, along with almost any Patriots game, we get a pretty low total. Who do they get next week? They play the Browns.
Cleveland, who just traded for a linebacker because they got torched by one of the worst ground games in football this past week.
Okay, so 3-point underdogs on the road, 42.5 point. Is the Bill Belichick like revenge game narrative still a thing with the Browns?
Of course.
Okay.
Why do you ask? Like, I'm wearing burnt orange as like to describe the burn that Bill Belichick will inflict upon the Browns organization until he dies.
Okay, so this is a tough one because it's like there was production on his usage despite not scoring. So the salary is going to jump up. I still have some question marks about the offense. I would put him at like 74.
I heard an S. I knew you were too low. It's 8,000.
I know. I knew you were going to do that.
Well, like, why wouldn't it be? Like, we've seen him get work from Damian Harris. He'll now be competing with Pierre Strong, who is inactive, for targets, and he gets ground game work. He gets targets. Like, that's an amazing role.
I think it's the offense.
I don't care. They're facing Cleveland. Any offense can be good against Cleveland. Like the Jets went for like 31. Not to poop the Jets. You know, they're 3-2. You know, let's go Zach Wilson 2-0, baby. But like, I don't care, man. I think 8,000 is like an appropriate salary for the role we'll get. For not just like a hashtag walk the film, bro, but like a good football player too in a very good matchup.
So he's 75.
Sick.
So I was more correct.
That's not. We're not trying to guess what the salary. Get out of here. You know that you're trying to. I was going to be up at 10:09 a.m. Eastern on a Monday, and I see right through it.
So that's a great salary. I'm not going to say he is a. I think for you, he's probably a write down at this point already. He's close to it for me. And
I put him in note to future me already.
Okay. So I think we're both very good with Ramondre, even though Jim's very clearly a bit higher, although I think not drastically higher.
Yeah, I think that like he checks every box. What you want at running back is you want guys who will get targets. You want guys who will get early down work. You want guys who will get work in the red zone. And you want guys, I guess,
on teams who will get into the red zone, though.
Yeah, I mean, Bailey Zappi's the best quarterback in football. So, like, is that actually a question? Like, he was awesome. So
I just think I gotta take pause if I don't even know who the quarterback like is necessarily going to be next week.
Doesn't matter. Is it going to be Bailey Zappi or will they downgrade to Mac Jones? You know, I mean, it's a slight downgrade to Mac Jones. Like, it's not that bad.
So
this is why you should watch on YouTube so you can see that I'm smiling and I'm joking.
For there to be an 8 in front of Stevenson's salary, I think I need a little bit more confidence in that offense. That's all.
Okay. I don't. I think 8,000 would be the right number. He's 75. Ramondre Stevenson will be a core play for me in week 6, assuming that there is no Damian Harris. Rashad Penny, bummer. We love Rashad Penny in this podcast. He's the best. I had to downgrade the Seahawks offense with him being out. And you don't do that for I guess I do it for every running back because they do matter for rushing efficiency.
Penny was a 95th percentile prospect in my database.
Yeah, he was at 0.32 rushing NEP per carry this year.
He's awesome.
He was Patrick Mahomes as a rusher.
He's one of the one of the top guys in rushing yards over expectation too.
Yeah,
the next gen stat. He's awesome.
It stinks. We love Rashad Penny. He suffered a broken leg, according to Ian Rappaport. Means he's probably going to miss a very long time. Travis Homer still has 2 more weeks on IR. So Kenneth Walker wound up playing 54% of the snaps. He had a huge touchdown, 8 carries and no targets. He did run 12 routes, though, compared to DJ Dallas, who ran 8. So it's a big bummer for Penny. We love Rashad Penny. We're sad about this. But what's your view of Kenneth Walker going forward in the Seattle offense?
Yeah, just really love it for Walker. Like this offense is fun, and that matters. So again, I'm not trying to compare Walker directly to Ramondre, but
no, that's fair. Go ahead.
In the matchup for next week within the offense, the total is 8 points higher at 50.5. Narrow underdog 2.5 points at home.
They shouldn't be underdogs.
Probably not.
I already bet against the Cardinals because I was like, oh my gosh, my numbers want me to bet against this team that I've been so frustrated with all year. Yes, sign me up. No second thoughts.
So sort of knee-jerk Monday morning reaction. I'm I feel like I'd have to be higher on Walker than Stevenson specifically for week 6. I think it's close, but I understand that the receiving work is more likely to be there for Stevenson because he's had it, but Walker also, I know, didn't get receiving work in college, but I don't think that necessarily means that he can't. He also had those 12 routes, just didn't get targeted. I would say next week, probably, if I said 74 for Ramondre, I'll just say 75 for Walker.
Okay, I would go 73 for Walker because of the pass catching.
That's fair.
For me, I've always found that perfect lineup running backs are more likely to have 6 catches than 0 or 1 or 2. And that's a big number. And I don't see a path to 6 catches for Kenneth Walker. And I do see that path for Ramondre Stevenson. That's why I downgrade Walker. So I'd say 73. Do you want to do a bet? A Walker versus Stevenson bet? No,
because it's both. The answer is really both.
No, but I'm higher on Stevenson. You're higher on Walker, straight up. We can root for both and use both, but do you want to do that?
Because we never write these down or remember them anyway.
Correct.
Also, Kenneth Walker 6,500 for next week. So,
well, that's the biggest write down then. Even though I'm higher on Ramondre, $6,500 is too low.
Yeah, Walker also no one cares about season long teams. Walker was the kind of guy I was trying to target in case of a Penny injury or a backfield takeover because the talent is there. The only knock on him really was the receiving in college. So
yeah. And from a 2022 perspective, it's okay, he'll split work with Rashad Penny and he will never get passing game work. But now he probably will get some passing game work and he's not going to split early down work with DJ Dallas. DJ Dallas' only function is to throw picks in the red zone. He's not there to steal early down work. So is there a player who has been more undersalaried than Kenneth Walker yet this year?
Because
I would say no.
I don't think there's been a click and lock.
We might have just gotten it. That might be our first lock him in kind of play of the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could maybe make the case if it wasn't in this game that it's sort of a fair salary with the question marks around the receiving, but in this game, then again, Arizona just ruins any game that looks appealing. And that's why I called them on Slack. I called them the worst offense or the worst team in DFS because they
DFS,
draw us
okay.
in.
I was going to say, because Brandon, although good teams win, great teams cover, and the Cardinals covered. So, like, they're a great team for this week.
They ruined what could have been a much more fun game.
Correct. I forgot that. I was talking about being lucky. I got very lucky that Jalen Hurts' 2 touchdowns came on the ground. That was another lucky thing for me because I had a lot of him, and it would have been much worse had those been passing. So that was lucky as well. I forgot to mention that. So I would say Kenneth Walker is the first time this year we've gotten like a free square based on an injury. And like, I know people get annoyed with that because it's like, chalk, but it's like your opponents are going to bleep it up and let them bleep it up. Let them do that. You do the right thing. You use Kenneth Walker. You use Ramondre Stevenson. Let them make the mistake. You do the right process. Let them mess it up.
Yeah. And, I dread thinking about the pivot study that I did because it just was a lot more labor intensive than I had hoped. But like we're good as a collective at identifying good undersalaried running backs in like the right situations. Yes. And running back production comes not from one touch. I mean, it does for like Austin Eckler, I guess, but like,
don't talk.
Yeah. But like it comes from volume, and volume is much more predictable for running backs than it is for any other position aside from quarterback, which I guess there's only 4, but give me a break here. So yeah, I think Walker's a lock-in this week.
I agree. So both those are our guys will be in our love section, I think.
Yeah, Walker Locker.
I like it. Hopefully that's not tied to Drew Lock because we need Geno in there. Let Geno cook. Injuries from week number 5 outside of those 2. Both James Conner and Darrell Williams left week 5 with injuries for the Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury said that he thought Conner would be okay, but he had a rib injury earlier on this year, I think, or maybe last year as well. So that's a bit concerning there. Eno Benjamin, 54% snap rate, 8 carries and 4 targets. No Cardinals running back has had more than 77 yards in scrimmage so far this year. But if both Conner and Williams were to miss time, how would you view Eno Benjamin in his backfield?
Yeah, I mean, same game that we just talked about that we liked to boost up Walker. Benjamin, 97% second half snap rate. You love to see that. Of course, it would come back as they sort of fill in, like backfill running back a bit. But
yeah,
he's a guy who can catch passes, and I feel like he's someone who a lot of people are high on in terms of profile.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even close to like a Kenneth Walker situation.
No.
So if you're asking me like no Conner, no Williams next week, that's tough.
Like 64.
I was thinking like 62. Yeah.
Yeah, because like they have Keontae Ingram, and like I don't think he's been he might have been active for one game this year, but like he hasn't been a threat in that backfield. But I feel like he'd probably be a bigger threat to Benjamin than DJ Dallas would be to Kenneth Walker, or Pierre Strong would be to Ramondre Stevenson. So I think that there are some issues there. He's 63, so that means we don't have to worry about it as much. I think that's
the difference between us. What about a Geno Eno stack though?
Now you're talking. Okay, so Geno Eno. If Amon-Ra had been healthy this week, we could have gotten Marquise, AJ, and Amon-Ra Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Kind of cheating, but like, whatever. I was looking to see if there was a player who had UPS in their name to get the what can Brown do for you. There was no one in the player pool who had UPS though. So I tried. Couldn't do it though. Alas. But yeah, I think Benjamin's role will be kind of flawed. Even if we get them with no Conner and no Williams.
Yeah, also he's in this Arizona offense.
That's part of why. Not because of the offense, but because of the way they use their running backs.
Sure.
The offense is great. Again, they cover. They're good. T. Higgins entered Sunday with an ankle injury. He played a decent chunk of the first quarter, but then had to exit. Would have loved to have known that. Like, bring back the probable tag so I know when guys are actually hurt. Like, questionable, like, if they practice all 3 days, I'm like, okay, cool. I can use T. Higgins. I got so excited about that stupid Thursday through Monday slate. I had Nyheim Hines, obviously bad stuff there. Chris Olave was in that lineup, concussion. T. Higgins, ankle injury, which means I've got Mahomes, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Josh Jacobs. I might swap to like Chad Henne just to protect Patrick Mahomes in that situation. Also, like, I don't know, like Jerick McKinnon to save Josh Jacobs. I don't want anything to happen to those guys. It's a cursed lineup, the most cursed lineup I've ever had in my entire life. So I got to get off that. Anyway,
never in a million years would I think you would sacrifice Jerick McKinnon for Josh Jacobs.
Jerick's dust. I love Jerick, but he can just watch some games on the couch, bud. Zach Taylor said after the game that Higgins could have potentially played situationally in the second half, but he didn't. Higgins could be good for week 6, but Jamar Chase led with 12 targets. Hayden Hurst was second with 7. Those two also had 3 red zone targets apiece. So what would you need to see to buy back into Higgins going forward?
What is that? Like, what is he could have played but didn't even mean? Like,
so I'm guessing if they had a bunch of injuries at receiver, he might have come in.
Yeah, but like, I don't know.
Like, if everyone
sounds weird to me to be like, you know what?
He was hurt. Like, I think he could have come in.
Well, they lost, so
yeah.
But I guess protect.
Hey, they covered again. Who cares?
Yeah, with him, I just need to see like a full practices.
Yeah, put him on the Gabe regiment. If he gets in a full practice, light him up. If not, proceed with caution. You know.
Ooh, they play the Saints next week.
Ugh, gross. It's not a fun game. I feel like I can probably just avoid there. That's not as fun.
Yeah, let me see. He's still 72.
Yeah, I need a full practice before I go back. Yeah. Speaking of that game, Chris Olave suffered a concussion on a touchdown reception and missed the second half. Shout out to him, though, for actually catching that pass. Helped some DFS lineups because he's a champion. They were already without Michael Thomas for this game. The Saints just 26 dropbacks despite 39 points. Alvin Kamara tied Olave with a team high with 6 targets. Traquan Smith had 4. He ran a team high 20 routes. New Orleans very run heavy, and that could continue until Jameis returns, but also Dalton might be playing better. But what's your view of this offense, especially with Olave, Thomas, Jameis all banged up?
Yeah, it's tough. That lowers efficiency. It's just something that we'll say throughout the season, but kind of stick on it a little bit more here and there. Like if you take Chris Olave off the field, yes, other guys are going to get targets. If you take Michael Thomas off the field, other guys are going to get targets, but that makes the offense worse. And then the targets are less productive. You get fewer red zone trips, fewer chances at touchdowns. Saints also, this was ahead in the philosophical discussion, but pass rate over expectation of minus 19 percentage points this week. Full season rates minus 8.
When you have Taysom,
Right. So the past 2 games, they've been double digits under expectation. Taysom Hill's a thing again. I know that like his usage is not going to be super predictable or consistent, but that is extra carries that they probably will script into their offense. And also then, I like Alvin Kamara just fine, but if Taysom Hill is going to be a nuisance and be a menace, that really hurts Kamara.
Do you want to talk Kamara here or in the philosophical section? Because I could do either.
I was just thinking like this offense as a whole. Because
okay, so I'm going to talk about Kamara then quick.
Okay.
2 games he has played a full game. Week 1 I omitted because rib injury. In week 3, 29 adjusted opportunities. He had 3 out of 7 red zone chances. 43%. Pretty good. Week 5, 35 adjusted opportunities. 4 out of 8 red zone chances. Didn't score, but actually pretty good usage. So despite the fact Taysom is there and annoying, I think Kamara is like an 8,000 salary kind of guy again.
Based on workload, yes. I don't think we'll be there because the results, like touchdowns, have a huge correlation with what your salary actually is. And if you're underperforming in the touchdown department, then your salary is going to be lower than it should be.
He's 81, so okay. We're not seeking one by fan.
I was wrong, man. Yeah. I was wrong.
What's your view of him at 81?
Probably not in that game unless I'm stacking it, and I think the only way I would stack it is like Chase Kamara, but I don't know if I want to go at Jamar Chase without T. Higgins like super healthy, because then they could just bracket him.
I think it depends on how deep running back is, because he's pretty fairly salaried there and has a very good role. So I would be receptive.
We already got 2 near locks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like if there are a lot of guys who are in that range, then I can toss them out. But depends on what other backs we have. Pat, we don't have any backs on the Steelers, so that's reassuring. Pat Freiermuth was ruled out in the second half due to a concussion. Just 2 targets there. We'll talk about this offense under Kenny Pickett in the philosophical section. Nyheim Hines played just 3 snaps before leaving Thursday night's game with a concussion. Head coach Frank Reich said that he is optimistic that Jonathan Taylor will be back for week 6, facing off against Jacksonville. That's that. We don't really know if Hines will be able to go. Go ahead.
It sounded like, again, Taylor could have played if their week 5 game wasn't on Thursday.
Yeah.
So give him 10 more days from that.
I think he'll be good to go.
Yeah.
And Hines, he was kind of wobbly, so there's a chance he misses. If Hines can't play, would you bump up JT for potential increased passing game work? I
think I might.
Yeah.
Because we have seen him get targets, like elevated targets in certain games. I wouldn't necessarily like bump down the offense without Nyheim Hines, but okay. So I was pulling up Jonathan Taylor's game log to look at his target numbers.
Don't do that.
Well, I saw his salary.
Oh.
So give me his salary next week. Assume it doesn't really matter for Hines that much, but let's assume he's out.
Okay. So
they play the Jaguars. The total is 40.5.
So Jonathan Taylor's had 45 adjusted opportunities, 11, 31, and 26. So that's still like
Jaguars again. That's
87?
the second time.
87 or so $100 salary?
He's 8,000.
Okay. So that's probably our third write down, isn't it?
I mean, Taylor or Kamara, I think I lean Taylor there, even with not that either offense is particularly great, but
yeah. So it's a running back in the flex kind of week is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine by me. Russell Wilson has been playing with a partially torn lat on his throwing side. According to Adam Schefter, the Broncos lost Garrett Bowles this season with a broken leg. Their left tackle. Like, what's their outlook right now? Because Russ is banged up. Their offensive line was already getting called for holding, and like that might actually get better with no Bowles, but they'll get worse overall. They can't snap the football.
Wow,
Russ is missing KJ Hamler, and KJ Hamler is, I mean, is he like our like avatar on the team when he's like slamming his helmet? Like, I feel you, man. Like, this is you are me. What are we doing with this team?
Mercifully, they play Monday night, so we don't have to break it down like in big detail. But also, kind of strange that they get to play the Chargers on like extended rest. They'll have like 11 days of rest there.
Yeah.
And I think Russ is like trying to get shots to like play through the injury, but it's not good. There just hasn't been much. Like Melvin Gordon was just I don't know if we want to talk like Melvin.
Yeah, let's just do it now. Go ahead.
Like he was just like a majority back still. It wasn't like he was a full featured back.
There was a report Monday that he'd be a featured back, and I questioned that, and I feel validated because like he got work, but like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I saw that and I was like, I'm just gonna play him, and again, no one cares about season long, but like that was my view of him entering the week was like, okay, if he's just gonna be the featured back, just play him and see what happens. But 55% snap rate, Mike Boone 42%. The rushing, if you looked at like the rushes, you'd think that Gordon was much more involved in that. 15 carries to 7 for Boone, 3 targets apiece, but Boone one more route, 19 to 18. Like Melvin, I guess at least did have a 66% first half snap rate, but I can't really like overpay to roster Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy seems to be like. I was trying to think of a comp for those two guys, and the one that popped into mind actually was like last year when Russ was hurt, like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But now it's Russ.
Like Sutton's been fine.
Yeah, like and like if memory serves, DK Metcalf was like fine. He was like boosted by touchdowns and stuff, but
yeah.
How low of a salary do you need to play Cortland Sutton in like a?
I still think he's fine. So he's still like 67 or so for me.
Yeah,
like I don't object to him. I just object to everything else. Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater ruled out for week 5 due to concussion injury, also an elbow injury. Tyreek Hill was in a walking boot after the game, but he said that he was okay. Skylar Thompson played all but one snap, preseason star. Skylar Thompson. This game did eventually get out of hand, but it was pretty close for most of it. Through the first 3 quarters, Thompson targeted Tyreek Hill 7 times and Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, and Trent Sherfield twice each. 8 out with 6.9 yards, did have 4 attempts, 20 plus yards downfield. They play the Vikings next week. Like they're only 3-point dogs in that game. I think that's kind of a hedge in case like either Teddy or Tua is able to play. But like, what's your view of this offense right now with all the weirdness going on?
I think Tyreek Hill's role is good enough that you could justify him in really any circumstance at this point. Not to say like he's a, like when I'm looking at to roster my 3 loves, I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is like someone that I'm plugging in there no matter what, but he's really been featured in this offense. Another situation where I was trying to think of a good comp where like there's 2 really good receivers, but the workloads don't really like treat it equally. Like one dude's way ahead, and I know the salary's starting to reflect that, but to start the year, it wasn't that close. It was closer. So I think Tyreek's fine. Raheem Mostert's also interesting with his workload, but you know, Hill's not really going to dip below 8,000. I don't think. If he does, I would get there, but
yeah, I think like you said, like the workload is fine. I just don't want to pay that much for a guy who's on a 3rd string quarterback potentially. So if Teddy or Tua are cleared, I'll be okay with Hill, but if not, I don't really want to go there. If Hill were to miss time, Waddle would be a pretty, he'd be a priority-ish kind of situation there at that point.
Yeah, but like if you take Tyreek off the field, what else do they have to like? What are teams have?
Well, it's the same offense as last year then, and that offense got Jalen Waddle a lot of targets. So, you know, I think that's why I'd be there.
Give me a salary for Waddle then.
If there's no Tyreek, or with
if there's no Tyreek,
who's playing quarterback?
Take your pick.
If it's Thompson, like 3,000, I just don't want like
3,000.
I don't want to use it on the team if it's Thompson.
Oh, like. You're not going to play Jalen Waddle without Tyreek. I thought you liked.
If it's Thompson, I don't want to. I just don't want this offense because they'll probably try to be run heavy and they can't run. Okay. So I don't know. Potentially a minor one, but Christian Watson left week 5 with a hamstring injury and did not return. Randall Cobb ran around on 29 out of 41 dropbacks, led the team with 13 targets. Allen Lazard was second with 8 targets. Dobbs had 5 targets. Watson was not a huge part of the offense, but Cobb, I think, ran around on half the dropbacks week before this, so he did get a role increase. Is it enough for you to be on Cobb or Lazard in this offense, or potentially Dobbs?
So Cobb's route rates, the 3 weeks entering 39, 50, 47, and then 71% this week, so that it was a boost. I think it'd be interesting. I have a hard time with this offense no matter what, including the running backs, just because they'll spread it out. You never know quite who to prioritize. I think Cobb's interesting to a point. This team also plays really slowly and deliberately. Cobb also seemed to be open a few times downfield. I don't know how often that's going to happen. That might be a little bit unfair to Randall Cobb for what his
deep threat Randall Cobb.
Like, I don't know. He had 5 downfield targets out of 13, which for me is 10 plus yards. Despite that, a below average ADOT for the position.
But that probably implies that he's getting like high percentage targets near the goal line, which is for the near the
line of scrimmage.
Line of scrimmage, yeah. So like that's probably not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
He had 2 targets at least 3 targets at least 16 yards downfield. So he actually was getting some deep looks. Like I'm not saying it's not an Olave role. I want to make that very clear. But it's like I like having the blend of both.
3 red zone targets, 2 end zone targets. I guess he would be the guy I'd have the most interest in, I suppose.
I'd agree with that as well. I think that, I mean, there was a play where he made like a nice catch on a screen, and Rodgers is like, "Yeah, man," like kind of giving him like a head nod kind of thing. I was like, "Okay, if Rodgers is feeling it, then I can feel it too."
I think that matters, especially with Aaron Rodgers too.
Correct. Cobb's salary next week against the Jets, $5,700. Low enough to be on my radar, as I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that team as we go to role changes now, because there might have been a role change in the backfield. Aaron Jones kind of featured for the Packers in week 5. He had a 74% snap rate. A.J. Dillon played a season low 31%. This was the first game of the season in which Jones surpassed a 65% snap rate, and the first time Dillon was below 50%. So we're typically, like, I've viewed Aaron Jones in this split as being a guy who has a very high 95th percentile outcome, but his other outcomes are all pretty underwhelming. But if he's going to get a 74% snap rate, that equation does change. So where are you at in Aaron Jones, given that we don't know if this role is sticky yet?
That's the issue. Is like we always look at role changes, and we look at not just like 1 week shifts. We're trying to like track the trends and stuff. But you see a 1 week change like this. They traveled, like maybe AJ Dillon wasn't feeling great after. Like,
there was a narrative in favor of AJ Dillon though, because he went to, I think, like West London High School in Connecticut. So like there was London in his high school.
I thought this was like a he travels a lot and like that.
No,
kind of
it
thing.
was much better than that.
Something completely irrelevant.
Like we had the high school name narrative, and he still didn't do a whole lot.
So I mean, realistically, if we could just cut and paste this role for next week, the arrow's way up on Aaron Jones.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if this is like indicative of much. He did have all 3 red zone carries. Dillon, despite a very small sample, like was efficient on his carries compared to Aaron Jones.
Rosa's upset about something. I don't know why.
She's like, she must have played Aaron or AJ Dillon.
Apparently.
Yeah.
She's very upset.
So
okay.
I think that
I agree. You're right. I validate your feeling. Yes. Good job.
I think what's most likely is that Jones comes down a little bit, but is up from where he was before. So like it's still an arrow up, but not like full.
Like a half. Like a half
step. Yeah.
Yeah. So
value.
Jones this year has had 170 yards in scrimmage and 115. And those are good numbers. Had 80 on Sunday in that role. But no more than 24 adjusted opportunities, no more than 5 targets. So it's still kind of a weird role. And like that's a bit annoying. That keeps my enthusiasm in check. But name that salary against the Jets next week.
So I said most or Ramondre like 74, Walker 75. I'd probably throw him in like the 74 range.
I said 73 in my head, just because like I still don't know if the role is there yet.
Yeah, 73 he is
on the button. That's in play because that ceiling gives him like a path to like an amazing game. So if people catch on to the snap rate and like steam him up, that situation where I'd be very nervous. But if he's going to be like 6% rostered, then that's a pretty good ceiling for a 6% roster rate and a potential role change.
Yeah, I'd have to think that Jets Packers game is going to rate out very, very poorly in my pace numbers. The Jets have been extremely slow the past 2 games with Zach Wilson, so that's a bit of a concern. Pace is a little bit overrated, but this one they could just like keep the clock rolling.
We get 2 sicko backs though with Aaron Jones and Breece Hall. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Speed it up, guys. Let's keep it cooking. Leonard Fournette had a role different this week than any other he's had so far this season. The snaps were still down at 61%, but he handled 14 carries and 11 targets. That means he had a carry or a target on 54% of his snaps. How would you view Fournette if his snap rate were to come down, but he had the potential for a dominant role regardless?
Yeah, I mean, like we saw Fournette just be completely featured for 3 weeks, then kind of an afterthought last week, and now like I don't know why, but the only role that comes to mind
McCaffrey.
Like,
oh, sorry, not the snap rate perspective, but his usage was McCaffrey, old school McCaffrey on Sunday, and I was so mad about it.
This is gonna sound silly, but like I remember there was a season where Adrian Peterson, his snap rate was like 40%, but when he was on the field, he got a carry.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't get many targets, but like his usage rate was incredible, and that actually made the snap rate almost irrelevant because it wasn't quite. You couldn't really compare it to other positions or other players at the position. I'm not saying Fournette's there, but I think it also is fair to say, like, you got to think about how you view this offense this year. Is it as good as it has the potential to be? Not quite.
No.
So that with a decreased snap rate, and yes, we're talking about how he was involved when he was on the field, but
a 54% usage rate on the snaps he plays is really high.
Yeah. Is that sustainable? Is that like his?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's part of why I'm so skeptical. Is I don't know if he can keep that up.
Right. So what I'm saying is the usage on a per snap basis was great, but the way to guarantee more involvement, unless you're Devin Singletary, is just to be on the field. So if you're on the field less, you're probably going to see the ball less than this. Yeah. So I think that this might be a time where, like, all the models, all the projections loved Fournette this week. We were lower on that because they wanted to decrease his role. They kind of did in a way. So
and then they're like, we're going to use you anyway.
Like, well, you're out there. Might as well give you the ball.
Part of it could have been because, like, Atlanta has some, like, okay cornerbacks. Like, maybe that funneled some work towards the running backs. But they get Pittsburgh next week, which is kind of similar in a lot of ways, unless you're Devin Singletary, in which case, Devin single digits. Like, name that salary for Fournette against Pittsburgh as 8-point favorites.
This is, I would imagine, lower than he actually will be. I think he was 78 this week.
Yeah.
I think I'd still have to bring him down, even though the usage was phenomenal this week.
Yeah.
I'd probably say 75.
I'd say 76. He's 85.
Yeah, I knew he was going to go like way up because of the results, but
honestly, he's like Eckler, where like the snap rate stinks. He's Eckler with a better red zone role.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Eckler does get to play with the best quarterback of all time, though.
Did Goff get traded to the Chargers? I probably can't make those jokes anymore. Anyway, David Montgomery returned to his usual role back with the Bears. 72% snap rate. Khalil Herbert played 28%. Montgomery, 12 out of 16 running back carries. He had all 4 running back targets. So he kind of just came back to his usual role, despite, I don't think he practiced until Thursday. He missed Wednesday, which means he wasn't fully healthy yet, but still got his same role. So how are you viewing Montgomery going forward?
Same as I did before, I guess, which with now in the context, though, of like what running back looks like, at least for week 6, is lower than it was whenever we kind of were scrounging for any back with the semblance of like a steady workload. So I was fine with him at like 72, 73. I think I'd have to say like 69 or 7,000-ish.
Due to opportunity cost or due to supply? Yeah, that's fine. I think that makes sense. They're on Thursday against Washington, though, so he'll probably be the MVP of that game. Woo! Breece Hall cemented the role change last week. So it's not a role change, but it's a role confirmation. 68% snap rate, 197 yards from scrimmage. He had just 1 out of 5 red zone, 1 out of 5 rushing touchdowns, which is sick. But he still had 36% of the red zone chances. So 2 touchdowns for Michael Carter, 1 for Zach Wilson, 1 for Braxton Berrios, but like, still a good role for Breece Hall. How high should we be on Hall now that we can feel more firm in his role?
Yeah, his role was so sick. He got that downfield target, but his ADOT, let me check for this season, because his ADOT has been like an outlier for running backs. 4.9, which sounds really low, but like ADOT
it's higher than Curtis Samuel's probably.
I think it's higher. Rondale Moore's, well, he had a
like
decent
3.5, I think.
But that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That is like kind of David Johnson-esque at like David Johnson's peak, where he'd get like a
Le'Veon to get those too. Yeah.
They just isolate him on a linebacker and take a shot once or twice a game. That has a lot of value if you can catch like a 30 or 40 yard pass. Obviously, he did a lot with it, and we could be looking at him with like a 2 or 3 touchdown game.
Yeah.
In addition to all of this, because boy, I sure know for a fact that he was stopped on the one numerous times this week. So the only question is the offense.
Is it a question?
Specifically for next week, I think that
Green Bay's defense looked like.
But I'm saying like, I guess I shouldn't overrate Pace anymore.
No, it's okay to factor it in though. Like
it's going to be a gross game. It has the potential to be low scoring because the clock keeps moving.
Yeah.
Hall roll like just based on his role, like 85 probably, and his talent.
I thought 8,000 just because like he's not going to have the same snap rate as Ramondre, but I think his usage might be a little bit better. So that's why I went the same salary as Ramondre. So I'd say 8,000.
He is 71.
Oh my gosh. Can we flex 2 running backs?
So we're going to have I'm going to write that one down. So his role, he was 66 this week. His role stayed great.
Yeah.
And we saw them really utilize him a lot. So we got Jonathan Taylor, who I think is going to be undersalaried if he's good to go. Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, Brees. It's going to be tough to narrow this one down.
No, you just use those 4 guys and don't use anybody else. That's probably where that's kind of where I'm tracking.
This is like the perfect example of why I love this Monday show, because as of Monday, I'm like, okay, all these guys make so much sense. The salaries are fair. I can just play these guys. But then come like Sunday morning, I'm like, okay, I gotta, who else, like who am I overlooking? Who am I missing? And then I get
single digits. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Stuff like that. Just talking ourselves into scrubs, jabronis. Can you guess Zach Wilson's passing net expected points per dropback this year?
I don't know if I've ever, aside from that Brees throw, I don't know if I've really seen him. Well, actually, no, I did see him overthrow some guys.
He overthrew some guys. He had that really bad pick against Steelers last week. He had a pick that went off Tyler Conklin's hands last week. So like he's had some rough plays. So guess his passing NEP per dropback.
I'm assuming it's good, or else you wouldn't be asking me.
No, I'm not saying that.
0.1.
0.11. A little bit above league average, because I think league average is 0.1 on early downs this year. I haven't checked their downs.
Full season, it's been like 0.06. It's been a rough year.
It's 0.10 on early downs. I'm working on stuff. We're figuring stuff out. Let me be. He hasn't been as bad as perception. So I don't know. I think the offense is actually kind of okay. And I think that game is not super appealing, but it's also not one that I'm gonna run away from. So.
I think you could probably double stack like Brees and Aaron Jones. Yeah. And just like if the game is worthwhile, those guys are gonna have something to do with it.
I'm excited about these running backs this week. Also, like Aaron Jones at 73 is not like a cross off, but like now that I'm seeing we got 4 dudes who are write downs, like
yeah. Also, like spoiler alert, there's a lot of looking at the teams who are on this slate. There are a lot of like stud running backs. So
yeah, like Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker and Ramondre.
Well, we have Cleveland plays, so Nick Chubb.
I can be off of Nick Chubb now. Like that's fine. I got my 2 touchdowns on Sunday. I'm fine. I'm good.
I sure didn't.
I'm done. There are more options now. I can go elsewhere. I'm good. I had my little dalliance. Is that a word? I don't know. Whatever. Gabe Davis finally got involved for the Bills-ish. In the first half, he had 5 out of 24 targets, which is 21%. Stephon Diggs led with 8 targets in that time, but Davis just beats it out. You don't need multiple targets when you bust one for 98 and then bust another long one where you just make Minkah Fitzpatrick look like a scrub. It was with no Isaiah McKenzie, no Dawson Knox, but Khalil Shakir and Quentin Morris got some targets too. So it wasn't like it was just because they were out. How much does this game alter your view of Davis going forward, given they face Kansas City next week, and we're just going to see highlights of Gabe Davis going for 4 touchdowns all week?
Yeah, this is going to be one of the scariest situations that we'll face all year, where we either just play Gabe Davis and say he's going to do it again, or we assume that the salary goes way up because of the production this week and say he's probably not going to do it again. Like the arrows up. I like Gabe Davis. I'm struggling because this is one of the biggest like instant regrets, which it's very easy to regret something whenever someone breaks off a 98-yard touchdown within like 3 minutes of lock. But, come Sunday again, I was talking myself into like Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin because of the opportunity there. Had them much more than I had like Gabe Davis. That's regrettable. Very easy to overlook that stuff whenever you're scrounging on Sunday morning. So it's important to start looking earlier. And even though we do this show, I still lose that. So I think there's a lot of value in this. So Gabe, he's going to be like 72 probably.
Yeah, I would guess so. He is. There are too many guys named Davis.
69.
I would say that that's not a bad salary given that game. But that also means his roster is going to be very high, which means it's a week where I want to actively spend up to get Stephon Diggs to be a bit different because Diggs' role has still been amazing.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like if you're stacking that game, you should prioritize Diggs just from a roster rate perspective. And like, you can use Walker, Stevenson, Hall, Jonathan Taylor, apparently, to like make that easier. And I don't know if you can get like those three running backs with Diggs and Kelsey and Josh Allen, but like maybe you could go like Mahomes. Even that's tough. Like you might not be able to get Diggs and Kelsey, but like people are going to go to Davis a lot this week.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, I do too.
But there's still a lot of volatility, especially for a guy who did what he did and had 6 targets.
Yeah. Well, 5 out of those were in the first half. So like it was partly script related, but like there is a lot of volatility in that role still.
Yes.
So I think it's like his role is great. He's great. But in this game specifically, dude is going to be on a lot of rosters. So just keep that in mind. Brian Robinson made his NFL debut, which is awesome to see. He led the Commanders in rushes with 9. Robinson played just 16 snaps though, and ran 2 routes. JD McKissick and Antonio Gibson combined for 11 targets between them. We can cross off this backfield, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. J.K. Dobbins' role got worse instead of getting better, which was weird. Even with Justice Hill out, Dobbins' snap rate fell to 39%. I'm not sure if there was an injury here because Dobbins played just 1 snap in the fourth quarter after playing a lot early on. Could have been because Kenyon Drake looked okay. I don't know what it was, but we might learn more about that later. I think for now, I just back off of J.K. Dobbins and leave it at that, especially with all the running backs we have. So
yeah.
For now. With no Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay had an actual role, not a fluky role, like an actual role. He had 7 targets, second behind Mark Andrews, who had 10. Nobody else had more than 2. Duvernay had 3 deep targets. So Duvernay showed he can earn targets when there's no Rashad Bateman, which is important. Not everyone can do that. So how would you view Duvernay if Bateman misses more time?
I think he's relevant in the right game environments. They play the Giants next week. Surprised. Did you mention that he had 3 carries?
I didn't know.
Well, they got him involved in like different ways.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure he had some like backfield snaps too, like pure backfield snaps. That is relevant.
Yeah.
Because as Jim says, that indicates that they want to get the ball to a certain player. It's an easy way to do it. And actually he like looked good whenever he had the ball. So
well, that's the thing, is he always looks kind of good. It's just like the usage was not there.
But that's that's the Ravens.
Yeah.
The thing we didn't linger on Dobbins, but like they are so hesitant to give backs like consistent heavy work. They haven't really ever for a like long term. They Hollywood Brown had like a hard time getting work, like consistently high market shares. Mark Andrews is the only guy that they do that with. Duvernay's not going to have the salary that like Marquise Brown did. I think he should be around like 61 probably, and that's fine.
He's 62. So it's fair. It's not like I would say of the 2 lower salaried receivers we talked about, I prefer Randall Cobb at 57 over Duvernay at 62. Sure. Probably.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
he's in play, which he was not with when Bateman was healthy. So I think that's important to note. Situations to monitor for week number 5. What else caught your attention this past week?
Joe Mixon's usually a big heat check guy, but his first half snap rate fell below 73% for the first time on Sunday night. It was 60%. Pretty sure they had a 2-minute drill to end the first half.
But the fact that he was not out there when he had been in the 2-minute drills earlier on this year is concerning.
I don't like we're always trying to be objective and like look at, okay, well, here's why he wasn't on the field. But at a certain point, like if you're not on the field as a running back, it's a negative, and there's really no way that I want to spin it that it's a positive, because if that's the case, I don't really want to roster you very much.
And like
so
the 2-minute drill thing was part of why we were on Mixon at the beginning of the year. It's like, oh, he's actually getting some passing game work now. That's fun, and now that's not there. So,
Austin Eckler cashed in again despite a 57% first half snap rate, 59% overall snap rate, 98 rushing yards over expectation according to Next Gen Stats. Just 25% of the red zone opportunities. Like, I can't get there. Like, I think it's bad process almost always, unless we have the salary to burn. They're not on the main slate this week, so thankfully I don't have to worry about it.
Thank goodness. Just banish them. I love Justin Herbert. I love Big Mike Williams. So banish them from the main slate, please. I beg you.
Raheem Mostert is at least a little bit interesting. Maintained that separation that he's had in the Dolphins backfield. 73% of the snaps last week, 68% this week, but actually 80% in the first half, and like 80% snap rates are super rare. 18 carries, 3 targets. I think he's 6,500. I wouldn't say like it rivals the other backs we have, but I think you could do worse. If it was a bad running back slate, I think.
Yeah, if it were a bad running back slate, sure.
In the second game with Zach Wilson, no Jet had more than 4 targets. I just wanted to throw that out there. The Rams backfield is just absurd. Cam Akers, 13 carries, Darrell Henderson, 0.
Like, you couldn't use them if they were combined. Like, if you could use Rams backfield as like one player, I wouldn't use them. And they're splitting that up.
Yeah, and 25 routes for Henderson, 5 for Akers. So like,
in one of the routes he did run, he looked like a toddler. Like, it was a Cooper Kupp throwback pass, and Akers was like, I might catch this. I was like, what are you doing, bud? This is why you're not running routes.
It's like the perfect example, though, too, of the type of thing that when you're doing this week after week after week, you can be like, okay, there's nothing here, but it can be easy to overlook and miss stuff.
I'm going to overlook them, and I'm going to...
This one's okay to overlook.
Yeah.
Dameon Pierce, 79% snap rate, 26 carries, 5 targets. Again, out routed Rex Burkhead 12-8. If you put this role in like a better offense, he'd be like 8,000 or like 80. I mean, he was already like 76 or something this week, but the role is really great, and I want to just give him some credit. I think Devin Singletary is done.
Who is that?
53% first half snap rate.
Who is that?
Devin Single Digits.
Thank you.
He had been at 80% or more of the first half snaps, 2 games entering this week, 53% this week. I'd love to see that. Drake London, I think, was a darling for us. I think things are a little bit down. This team wants to run the ball a ton, not throw it. And just a 63% route rate. I don't think he was injured, but like that's concerning. And then I don't know if this one was worth like the injury section, but Baker Mayfield has an ankle injury. He may not play next week. Could get some PJ Walker, but maybe DJ Moore will finally have a pulse.
I don't think so. I doubt that. They tried to make PJ Walker their 4th string quarterback because they had Sam Darnold see his 2nd string. They traded a 2023 3rd-round pick to trade it for Matt Corral. They traded for Baker, which meant that PJ Walker in their ideal world was a 4th stringer, and now he might just start. I don't think that can ever be an upgrade. It can't be a downgrade because Baker's been awful. So it can't be a downgrade, but I can't view it as an upgrade either. There. I thought Dalvin Cook's muted snap rate last week was...
whoa.
What's that?
I said status whoa.
Boo. Dalvin, low snap rate last week. I thought it was because of shoulder injury, but it was low this week too, just 57%. 18 carries and 2 targets with 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. So production was there, but the usage was not ideal. I'm going to lower Cook a decent amount in my mind going forward. Faces the Dolphins next week. Name that salary quick.
Was 73. Roll wasn't great. I'll say 73, but I know it's going to go up because of the 2 touchdowns.
I think he was undersalaried at 73, but I want to lower him from being undersalaried. So I would say he should be about 74. So it sounds like it's an increase, but it's not. He is 83. He's going to Eckler us. Fun times.
Mhm.
Very excited about that. That's now a verb, by the way. He's going to Eckler us. Chris Godwin ran just 26 routes on 52 dropbacks. It's apparently not an injury thing, according to Greg Allman of The Athletic. They're just playing things safe with him. He said it's because they had a lead, and they did, but like in name, like it was a tight script, and they still kind of just didn't really use him. It's weird. His ceiling is probably still good if you expect a back and forth kind of game, but hit a couple downfield targets this week. Just kind of a pretty big ding to his median expectation right now. Travis Etienne outsnapped James Robinson for the second straight week. Last week was a negative script. This week was more neutral. Etienne finished with 114 yards in scrimmage to Robinson's 39. That's not to say I'm on Etienne. It's to say I'm off Robinson. It wasn't really on to begin with, but like firmly off of him right now. You talked about Dameon Pierce. I do think it's worth touching on the pass catchers there quickly too. Nico Collins is actually making Brandon Cooks far less appealing than he was. Cooks leads in overall target share by 9 percentage points, but Collins has 39% of the team's deep targets. I was never enthused with Cooks to begin with because he has a low ceiling, but now his floor is worse too. So Collins worth monitoring, not worth using. I think that Pierce is kind of the only bring back option on this team at the moment. Even with AJ Green back, Rondale Moore's role was still decent. Played 91% of the snaps. Moore was third behind Marquise Brown and Zach Ertz with 8 targets. 8 out was 2.2, so still not something we should slobber over, but he's at least worth getting looks. He's at least getting looks. Game will probably stack next week, Brandon. Would you include Rondale Moore in those stacks or no?
It's really hard to have a ceiling if you are just getting targets at the line of scrimmage. It's a safe way to chip away and get points, but you have to do everything after the catch. I think that he's like a good enough athlete to do it, but
yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah. 2 deep targets last week, 2 in the red zone total. It's not a good roll. I would need his salary to be like 52 like it was this past week. And it's 56, a little high, I think, for what he's at right now.
I still think that if you're going to if you want to stack him with
Kenneth Walker and then just game stack the living daylights out of Chiefs Bills.
I think that you could do worse than that. Yeah,
that's fair. Okay. Jeff Wilson scored and had 120 yards in scrimmage this week, but he also lost some work to Tevin Coleman. Wilson's snap rate is 57%. Part of that was the score at the end because Coleman did outsnap Wilson 8-7 in the fourth quarter, but Coleman also scored a touchdown in the first quarter, so it wasn't just garbage time there. I think it's worth noting that Coleman is somewhat of a threat to Wilson. Some people were higher on Wilson this week than I was, and he was fine, but like I don't know if that's something I want to really bank on going forward. Let's go to philosophical changes from this week. Kenny Pickett made his first start at the Steelers. They had a 58% early down first half pass rate in that game. They were at 47% with Mitchell Trubisky, probably because they were down huge from the jump. But Pickett didn't look terrible, but they got crushed. Only 5 out of his 52 attempts were 15 plus yards downfield. There was heavy wind in that game at 19 miles per hour, so that could have played a role. Tough to rip it downfield when you've got 6-inch hands and it's very windy.
Well, there weren't any, if memory serves, there were no
dump offs.
No deep passes.
Yeah. I don't remember any from that game. Yeah, definitely not. None. Definitely not happening. Deontay Johnson, the king of the hollow target, had 13 targets, 4 of which were deep, 60 yards. I did like a search like on PFR last year, like number of games with double-digit targets and less than 60 receiving yards. And it was just like Deontay Johnson.
He simultaneously has some of the best catches that I see on Red Zone every week, and also some of the
almost great one on Sunday. Yeah,
but like he also drops. I don't know what his drop numbers are, but I did see one that he dropped this week. It's frustrating. Like you want to talk a range of outcomes. It's literally if he caught all his passes,
but like it never happens. But his range of outcomes is bad. Like it's small despite getting a lot of work, which is odd.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. George Pickens at 83 yards, so it's not just the offense. He had 8 targets. Chase Claypool had 50 yards on 9 targets. So the targets may be more concentrated if Freiermuth misses time, but doesn't matter.
So with Pickens, because I have I'm doing the waiver column for numberFire this week, so I think Pickens is a fine like waiver addition, but his catch rate over expectations plus 8.3 percentage points. According to Next Gen Stats, Deontay's minus 4.4, Claypool's minus 7.5. So like the samples are still small, but I think that you could at least give Pickens credit for like overperforming his situation, whereas the under guys are not doing that. So I'm not saying I'm going to like play George Pickens right away, but it's noteworthy.
Yep. I think that's I'd be as well. Where it's worth monitoring, but not worth using just yet. You had some notes on the Saints and Texans. What'd you see there?
Yeah, I already said these numbers for the Saints, but they were super run heavy. The past 2 games, their pass rate over expectations been at least 10 percentage points below expected. With Taysom Hill being a thing, that I don't think that that's going to help, especially in the red zone. That could hurt the pass catchers if and when they're healthy. And then for Houston, they went run heavier this week in a neutral script. I don't know how often they'll get that ability, but when they do, maybe they want to just kind of reel things in. Pass rate over expectation of minus 11 points. Possible if they can run the ball, like they can deflate games. Not that they're the most stackable team for or against, but if a team has a bad rush defense, maybe that could kill that game, kill that other offense.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the role they can play, which is annoying. And like that kept me, I think that's a good thing too, because it kind of kept me off of the Jags guys who I thought were at least interesting. And that did help me stay away there. So actually it was beneficial that they suck. So thank you, Texans, for doing that and saving me from mistakes. Let's dig into our salary school, opening up the week 6 FanDuel main slate. We'll scroll through salaries position by position and shout out things that stand out to us. We'll start at quarterback. And oh, buddy,
we got a list. We got a list this week.
There is no Jalen Hurts, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. We got Josh Allen, 92, Lamar Jackson, 88, Patrick Mahomes, 86, with Allen and Mahomes playing against each other, Kyler Murray, 83, playing against the Seahawks.
Will you spend below 83 this week?
Definitely not Burrow. What's Burrow 8,000 against the Saints?
I have no idea. Geno's 74.
Geno's 74.
I'm not off that. I'm not into it over those guys, but I'm not off it. Tom Brady's headshot is stupid. I don't want to share my screen, but like I want to. Pull up your take your phone out as you're listening to this. Pull up Tom Brady's player card on FanDuel. Look at his face. It's before he got his cheeks pulled in, so it's pre facelift Tom. But like his eyes are kind of psycho, and he has like wispy hair. He looks very dumb. I can't use any more bucks the rest of the year. I don't think I'll play anyone below 83 unless it's Geno. Yeah,
he's had a little more rushing than I thought.
Yeah. He's been too good from the pocket to run, which is like
yeah, I was like watching him kind of roll around in the pocket, like move around, and I'm like, he's gonna eat a sack or like he's gonna do something, and he like didn't really do anything.
He made a play.
Like he's making plays. Like
yeah. So we use our savings at running back to spend it at quarterback this week, or tight end actually, because that's also a same thing over there. Running back.
It's loaded too.
I mean, like we have Saquon, we have McCaffrey.
McCaffrey's role was awesome. I think did he at one point late in the game he had a 98% snap rate. I think it came down.
It was 86, I think, by the end, but it was because he didn't play at the end, so it doesn't really matter.
Is he Christian McCaffrey of old?
No, because the offense is somehow worse than old Christian McCaffrey, and I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, he's yet to have fewer than 12.5 FanDuel points.
But like, okay, if I not to relitigate the Nick Chubb thing, his maximum FanDuel points is 21.3.
McCaffrey?
Yeah. This year.
Okay.
That's like Chubb has topped that twice now, I think. So just saying.
Sure.
If we're gonna poop talk Chubb stealing, we should probably poop talk McCaffrey's too.
No, it's not that. It's like McCaffrey's doing it without the touchdowns.
But like you don't expect them because the offense is poop. can't predict Nick Chubb 2 touchdown games unless they happen every week. Anyway,
so do we like Saquon more than McCaffrey then?
Yes. They're facing Baltimore.
Are you going to prioritize Saquon at 88?
Probably not.
I
think that he will be a decent like tournament pivot because everyone will be spending down at running back this week, or at least we will. I don't know. Maybe that's not what consensus will be, but like I would say he'll be like a good tournament pivot, but he will not be a core play.
There's got to be, we'll get down into like the mid sixes, but there's going to be some optimizer favorites in like the mid sixes that we don't really like. Like Jeff Wilson was an optimal
Against Atlanta
favorite.
at 72. Yeah.
No. I mean, like last week he was like,
he might be at this week too, though. He's 72 this week facing Atlanta. So I could see him being someone who pops in that regard.
So we like Ramondre and Brees in the 7,000 range. Dobbins at 68.
I kind of like Aaron Jones at 73, but like he's not on the same tier as Stevenson and Hall.
I know that the Chiefs play tonight, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 7,000. He and Singletary are going to show up on the field doing like the Spider-Man meme where they're just pointing at each other.
But like Singletary or single digits play snaps at least.
I guess they're not that similar because CEH doesn't really play a whole lot of snaps, but scores all the time. And
exactly, they're the opposites.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kenneth Walker 65. He is like the standout down there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Najee Harris 62 against the Bucks, but I'm sorry for anyone who like drafted Najee Harris in the first or second round this year, but
me too. This is why you play DFS though, so you don't have to use Najee Harris. I don't.
AJ Dillon's down to 59.
I don't care.
Okay.
I really don't care. His role got worse.
It did. Well, he's got double digits just once this year.
Maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon will both retire, but he's Isaiah Pacheco at 57.
Let's hope, because I won't talk about my season-long team.
No. Yeah, I think we just pepper that mid-range. Like, blast the daylights out of it from an exposure perspective and live there.
That plus, I guess, we can talk more about this on Thursday, but I think a question I'll have to answer is Jonathan Taylor at 8,000 actually undersalaried? It feels like he is.
I think it's a fair question to ask, but I think he is, yeah. It's not a bad question to ask, though. So I think that's fair. Okay, wide receiver. The Rams' best quarterback is 94.
Got some big names here. Well, sort of.
Cooper Kupp hasn't had more than 26.3 FanDuel points yet this year.
That's surprising.
Oh, it's
He's
weird.
got 3 games with at least 22.4. That's what you point out.
I know. Just saying. Like if Brees is going to
do any running backs have more than 20 points in 3 games this year?
Nick Chubb almost does. He had
almost, but doesn't. Well, I mean, if we're doing almost, then Kupp's almost there in 4 or 5 games.
Whatever. Let's get past him. I think the Diggs might be tough to get to because of quarterback and tight end being places where we want to spend up, but like in theory, I want to get there. Marquise Brown 82. Wow. Rude.
Marquise Brown. Oh, no. What's 82 plus?
Lockett and Metcalf are 75 and 74 too. That's tough.
So would you play Marquise Brown at 73 and Kenneth Walker at 74 together?
I mean, sure, but like I'd rather play Kenneth Walker at 65 and Stephon Diggs at 89.
Sure.
Like that's $700 difference, but like a Kenneth Walker plus Diggs combo is better than Breece Hall plus Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I think based on the fact that we have like mid-range running backs and we want high salary quarterbacks and looking ahead, high salary tight ends, I feel like we need to look in the mid-range at receiver as well, mid-range and lower. So I'm going to scroll down to 7,000 and start scrolling there. Okay. Gabe at 69 is a good play, but like, again, he'll be very popular. So there's that.
If I do Josh Allen at quarterback, Brees at 71, Walker 65,
Andre 75. You can do Bengals defense at 56 if you want to. Just plug that in there.
36. Then I got for tight end and 3 receivers, 65-25. So like
You
even
can
with
get Diggs, or you can get a high salary tight end. What do you
but
want?
like even with that, you're still kind of you're either going pure balance or you're gonna get strapped.
Yeah.
So like even with the value at running back, if you want to
Yeah.
get one of the stud tight or
It's still
quarterback,
tough.
it's still tough. All right, so
So
receiver at 7,000 and below, you said?
So Josh Allen. So just basically those running backs you had plus Bengals defense plus Josh Allen at quarterback. If I go Gabe Davis and Travis Kelce, I have 54.50 left for 2 receivers. That's really tough.
That's
so tough. We're gonna need value at receiver, I think, this week if we can, if it's justifiable. I think that Cobb at 57 will probably have to be someone we think about. MBS 58, given that game.
I mean, I guess it is good. Like we could gloss over almost the entire 6,000 range.
Yep.
Like there's Gabe.
What's the difference between the 6,000 range and the 5,000 range? Besides,
yeah,
Gabe?
it's like a PGA thing that we do sometimes. Yeah. So Gabe at 69. Olave, if he's cleared, would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Duvernay at 62.
Yeah, I think so.
But like that's it in the 6,000 range. So
anything in the low 5,000 range that we can check out? Nope. 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 Nope.
Also, sorry to anyone who rostered or drafted DJ Moore, myself included. He's 57, and I wouldn't even necessarily want to play him over Randall Cobb. So.
Oh no, you're right. That's so sad.
This is the thing. Like I every offseason I build like full season projections and like try to account for stuff. And then by week 6, it's like, would you rather play Randall Cobb or DJ Moore? And it's like, what was even the point of any of this? Yeah. That's why FanDuel's great and like DFS is awesome.
Correct. I think we'll need to search hard for mid and low salaried receivers. Or if we're looking for a mid receiver, I guess we can go DJ Moore. Not mid salary, just mid.
Or the question is, once we get to tight end, can we realistically bank on a down game from the studs?
I pulled up tight end. I looked at $7,500.
Oh no.
It's Taysom Hill.
At least he's not like 4,000 or
Please make him quarterback eligible. Release this demon from my life.
He ran 2 routes.
He's not a tight end. Make him a running back. I don't care.
So we got Mark Andrews at 78 and Kelce at 83. We got to ask, are they gonna beat us, or are they gonna just be okay? If they're just okay and you roster them, you can really be like, it can really hurt you. Because
we have some breaking news. Robert on YouTube. Thank you, Robert. Apparently Matt Rule just got fired for the Carolina Panthers. I clicked the wrong one. There we go. So Matt Rule got fired. I don't know what this means anything. Like, it's still Ben McAdoo running the offense. Like, I think it's the same thing as like Baker to PJ Walker. Like, is it gonna get worse? Probably not, because I don't think it can. But well, like, it's probably not gonna get better either.
There's some squeaky wheel. Oh, he's not really been that. Well, I guess he's been kind of.
He's been a little salty.
Yeah,
a little sarcastic. You mean DJ Moore, right?
Yeah.
His squeaky wheel game is 7 targets, 5 catches, 42 yards.
He's back.
And they didn't get in the red zone.
He's back.
Okay. I'm going to scroll. So, okay. If we are, like, I think I want to use Kelce or Andrews at tight end this week. The pitch for not using them would be they don't score, but then you also have to decide if they don't go off, who does go off. So let's scroll down to tight end.
Well, if they don't go off, you just need like
something.
Like 14 points is like an 80th percentile outcome for tight ends. Like you don't need, I mean, you still need a touchdown because no one else has yardage upside at tight end aside from those guys.
Is Tyler Higbee the Deontay Johnson of tight ends? He has double-digit targets in 3 separate games this year, 39, 73, and 46 yards.
Well, I mean, if you flip it the other way, he's got at least 70 yards in 2 games, no fewer than I mean, he's a tight end, but like no fewer than 39. Like you're at least getting something from him.
But I could also spend less and get a guy who's gone for 89, 73, and 88 yards the past 3 games in David Njoku.
Good.
I use that as a pivot this week, was using Njoku over Higbee and Ertz because I didn't think they had good ceilings. And that didn't really pay off because Njoku finished with 11.8 FanDuel points, whereas I think they were both either above that or around that. Ertz had 7.8. Higbee had 8.1. So I think I'll probably just do that again. If in the lineups where I don't go Kelsey or Andrews, just use Njoku again and hope that the yardage finally converts in for a touchdown. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's very sad that George Kittle at 57 he had an 87% snap rate this week, 91% route rate, 6 targets, just 47 yards. I don't know if he's just too hurt to be a difference maker after the catch.
Yeah.
I'll try to watch some of the I'll watch his targets and see if they're creative at all, but if we're looking for a guy who could theoretically match or get close to at salary, he's still got to have some of that potential.
Yeah.
I know you're going to hate this, but Evan Ingram's been
no.
10 targets last week. He hasn't gotten to 70 yards though. So.
No. I'm not doing that. You can't make me. I'd rather Hayden Hurst is 49. I'd rather use him than whoever the person you were talking about is, because I've already blacked out. Mo Alley Cox ran around on a bunch of dropbacks in week 4 and has immediately been dropped back down to 48 because that offense is the worst offense in football.
What about your boy Irv Smith Jr.?
I looked at his player card.
Oh my gosh. Talk about yardage upside.
Tunyon's the same thing. I looked at Tunyon's snap rates to see if they were getting better, and they're not yet. So I can't get there at this point yet. Daniel Bellinger, the Giants wide receiver 1 at 47. He hasn't had more than it's really just, I feel like Njoku is the lowest salary tight end who has juice.
Yeah, and it's tough with tight end because is Mark Andrews guaranteed to have a huge game? No. Is Travis Kelce guaranteed to have a huge game? No. And if you get the 2.5 point performance from Andrews when he played Buffalo, it's really difficult to overcome that because you're using so much salary on a tight end. But he's got 3 games with at least 18.9. Kelce obviously only 4 games yet, but 15.9 or more in 3 of 4 games. We'll see what happens tonight, but you can't really match that.
Yeah.
The biggest question, though, is you're building one lineup. Are you playing Kelce and value receivers, or are you playing Njoku and better receiver? But then I guess the mid-range at receivers not appealing either.
Well, the one lineup thing, I'm probably going I don't know, Mahomes. So I'm probably going Kelce. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most likely.
No. I think it's going to be a really interesting slate next week.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So let's do a Note to Future Me based around that. And I feel like it's been pretty crystallized throughout the podcast that we know what the objective is for this week. We know what the mission is in preparing for week 6.
Yeah, I think so too. It's really solidify the running backs that we want. I think part of that is looking at the Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara tier and say am I really selling I'm not going to get there. I'm going to build around other players, and I don't think they'll burn me this week because they all can to a certain degree. But also, how good do I feel relying on multiple true value receivers who have really unpredictable usage and generally hard to find pure upside?
Yeah. I think that it's digging into those running backs, deciding how you want to view them, deciding what you want to prioritize, but then also trying to find if there is something you can tolerate at receiver. I will say that building out the 3 core running backs of Hall, Stevenson, and Walker with Mahomes and Kelce lineup is a lot easier. So maybe it's Do we go more Mahomes and Kelly than Allen and stuff like that? But like, I don't know. It's tough.
But like I think like this is like a two-part of the same question is like, okay, am I really just glossing over Saquon, McCaffrey, and those guys? I know I said that, but like it's also it's I don't know when the Packers play. They play at 1, I guess. It's like it's 108. You're like, did I really just lock in Randall Cobb?
No, it's 108, and it's Aaron Jones just scored his 4th touchdown. That seems bad.
Did I really play Randall Cobb and like George Pickens in like my main lineup this week?
Well,
like, did I have
in
to
this
do
Mahomes
that?
lineup? I had 57-50 left, so it might be Cobb. And maybe not Pickens. I don't want to do that, but
like it feels great to love the rest of your lineup, but then if you're one value receiver is like, I had it with Curtis Samuel this week in my main lineup. In hindsight, didn't love it.
Curtis Samuel, pull a Brandon.
Yeah, the way to get De'Ami Brown's career going was for me to be heavy on Curtis Samuel. So you're welcome, De'Ami. But I don't know, like 2 pure value receivers is
this lineup. This lineup with Mahomes, Kelsey, and those 3 running backs has a lot of dust potential with Randall Cobb and Rondale Moore in it.
Like those guys could get you 4 or 5.
Yep.
So
and it's not even like a could; it's like are decently likely to.
Yeah. So like I've done the research, and yes, like stud receivers have these big ceilings, but they're more volatile than running backs. But like if you're looking for like 15-point outputs from guys in the 5,000 range, you can cherry pick it after the week and be like, yeah, this made sense. But leading in, that's tough. Yeah. And I don't care what kind of lineup you're playing. If you're playing guys who you don't think can get you like 14, 15 FanDuel points, they probably don't deserve to be in your lineup.
What would make this a lot easier is if Marquez Valdes-Scantling has like a good role tonight, but doesn't like beast out. So he's not like super, super popular. He's 58. Because he actually has a path to like a double-digit point game.
Yeah.
Which is not totally common down there. So I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe the go-to build isn't quite what I think. Maybe I gotta just play like Njoku and a tight end and
potentially. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I think those running backs are the key pieces of this week still, no matter what. I can't.
I do, but like who have we
my note to future me is don't mess it up, let someone else mess it up. Like that is my note to future me. Don't mess it up. Let people make mistakes. People like Brandon, maybe it sounds like.
We're like, who have we become where we're like, yeah, I'm not gonna play Saquon this week because I don't
need to. I can get Saquon for $6,500. Well, no, sorry, $7,100.
Okay.
In Breece Hall.
Yeah. Okay.
The other New York guy. He's also a 6-point underdog or whatever. I don't even know.
7.
He's also going to get 17 carries. He's also going to get 6 targets. He's also going to look amazing doing it. I can get Saquon for 71. That's fine. I don't need Saquon.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this one already. This is
I think it's my favorite slate so far.
Yeah.
We've been underwhelmed on Monday shows looking forward. I'm not underwhelmed this week. I'm pretty excited about how things will play out. We'll break down the slate in full on Thursday. That'll be live on the FanDuel YouTube page at 10 a.m. Eastern. It'll also be up on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed after that is done. So go search for the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review as well. Brandon, if people have questions for you on Twitter, where can they find you there?
I'm on Twitter at Gadula13.
You didn't spell it. I was waiting for it.
I know we talked about it. I don't know. Okay, I'll spell it moving forward. GDULA13.
Okay, because I didn't know how to spell your last name. I was curious. I type it into Twitter and it's like, oh, who is this guy? Who's Logan Gadula? He's the first person who pops up every time I search Gadula.
I need to get his jersey or something.
I hope he listens to the show. I don't think he knows who we are, but that's okay.
I can guarantee you he does not care who I am.
Shout out Logan Gadula, whoever you are, whatever you are. I'm on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JIMSANNES. You can also follow the FanDuel Podcast Network at FanDuel Podcast. Good luck to you with your Monday single game slates. We'll talk to you on Thursday to get you set for what should be a fun week 6. This has been the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast powered by numberFire.